The Canadian Armed Forces play a really important role in this province from a number of different means. And I would start first by discussing the role that the Canadian Armed Forces play for the defense and security of our nation. So here in Victoria, of course, you have the Pacific Fleet, ships that are ready to deploy around the world to conduct operations for the defense and security of Canada if required. The same thing can be said about our Air Force in Comox and our Reserve Army units across the province. So that defense and security role is very, very important. At the same time, our Canadian forces stand ready within the province to respond to events here at home, whether they be defense and security related or perhaps natural disasters. Your Canadian Armed Forces across the province stand ready to support British Columbians in that moment of need. Also, our Canadian Armed Forces stand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, ready to respond to search and rescue events throughout the province. And indeed, on an annual year in this province, we respond in partnership with our Coast Guard colleagues to over 3,000 search and rescue cases in the province. At the end of the day, all of these Canadian Armed Forces members go home and take off their uniforms and volunteer in all of the communities they live in. So I would say your Canadian Armed Forces in uniform, regular and reserve, are contributing in many, many ways.
Push forward.
Military lifestyle is unique in so many ways, and I would start first by highlighting the risk that comes with serving in our military. We all sign a contract in which we sign up for what we call unlimited liability. We understand as Canadian Forces members that we will deploy anywhere in the world if directed by government, and if necessary, we will give our lives in the defense and security of this nation. And so there's a great element of risk that comes with what we do and what we accept each and every day. A military family on any given day is dealing with a loved one who is probably working in a Canadian Forces unit that may be subject to deployment, in which their loved one packs up and deploys away to conduct business on behalf of the Canadian Armed Forces, leaving that family home to deal with the day-to-day issues. And finally, I would highlight the fact that as a military member, we move a lot. We move 3 times more than any other civilian family. And each time we pack up and move, we have to start over. And so that mobility piece is significant. And again, why partnering with civilian agencies is so important. How can we assist military families to deal with those challenges that are inherent in being the spouse or the family of a military member?
I think the main challenges arise because of the mobile nature of the families.
Starting over every 3 to 6 years, you know that you're going to have to do this again, and you start off and you have to get a new school, get a new doctor, get a new dentist. And if you have a special needs child, you need to get new specialists.
Our son has cerebral palsy, and coming to BC has been very hard for our family because BC doesn't have family-centered care. It's very much based on a biomedical, physician-led care, and because of that, a lot of the interventions that we do are not supported.
Some of the common misconceptions that I run into are that military families, for instance, might have their own doctor or have their own service providers or have special funding. They don't have any of that. They access the same services that anybody else does who lives in that community.
If there's some way to enable an ease, almost like a seamless medical transfer, because that was our hardest part, was to find a GP when we came out here to get the referrals to the specialists that we had to see.
The Comox Valley Division of Family Practice has reached out to the Military Family Resource Centre and the healthcare workers there to ensure that they've been engaged in all the initiatives that we have conducted in our area. Our key initiative, which is called a GP for Me, which is to support attachment of patients to general practitioners. And through that, we have actually identified military families as one of the key target groups needing better attachment to general practice, and have been working to improve their attachment with GPs.
I think it would be important for service providers to know that military families come from other provinces. Other provinces have different services, different funding, different systems, and your province that you know so well may be very different from what they came from. So just to explain very clearly how to access the service, what services are there, what funding is there to a person who's brand new to your province is really important.
Our families depend on the services of the local community, whether it be healthcare, employment, schooling, and so it's so critical that we have the relationships with these community agencies to help our military families. And this is very significant for our families, for our spouses who work, who have to give up their jobs and come into a new community and find a job.
Employment's incredibly difficult, especially when you get into the smaller communities like Comox. Bigger cities, like if you're in Ottawa, it's a different story, but here it can be a lot harder.
Sometimes it's difficult when we travel from province to province for a spouse to be employed in their field of specialty and their occupation. And it does take a bit of flexibility of mind sometimes for an employer to embrace that, to realize that even though someone is here for only a few years, that they will be a great element to their workforce, they will be an added benefit, and there's an enormous amount of people with great qualifications that are not able to find a job in their field of expertise.
If you do happen to find work, then one of the biggest issues are your credentials going to transfer from province to province. I'm lucky, mine do, but I know I have friends who it's a nightmare. You know, they have to retrain, upgrade, you know, thousands of dollars that they'd have to spend just to make sure that they're at the standard of the province, the new province they're in.
I see that there's a great opportunity for Chambers of Commerce to come alongside and work with the military family resource centers and look at ways to engage employers with personnel that are coming to our community and get them plugged into places that they need to be.
I would encourage local community employers to make sure that they're open-minded with the hiring and actually actively look for military spouses to hire.
We got posted out here to Esquimalt, so it was our first time on a Navy base. This was a little bit different for us. Not having family around was challenging. All of our family is back east. They just know that hubby is gone and that I'm a single parent for 8.5 months.
Now for the greater Regina family, the spouses, the mums, dads, the kids, you are such a big part of this. We could not be successful as a military team without the support and love from home. And for that, on their behalf, I offer you my deepest thanks and gratitude. Ladies and gentlemen, make us proud.
You don't really realize what the deployment's going to be like until you're actually faced with the challenges of day-to-day without your partner.
The challenge is actually at home, so she has to take care of everything while I'm just taking care of my job.
Both of us have our own challenges. There was one point where Jill called in from Dubai and I said, he's walking, and Jill had to hang up because he was too emotional over the fact that he missed the first steps.
The hardest thing is for him leaving, time in a sense stands still. But for us, time goes on. We would try and make memories and record them so that he would see how life went on for us.
The biggest challenge for me is coming back. Because at that point, they're all in a routine. Mom is basically alpha, and I'm trying to incorporate myself into that picture, and that's, for me, that's the hardest part, is to reconnect with my kids.
We did 8.5 months without someone else in the household. We learned lots of new things. We're excited to have it end and have him home, but you know, I don't want to take away from that. But we did it. We did 8.5 months.
Well, the Military Family Resource Centers are designed and staffed by experts. Normally it's civilian family members who are volunteering, but also we have paid staff who come together and build programs fully aware of the challenges that military families face. They build programs to help military members and their families to deal with those challenges, to help them get established in the communities, to help them deal with the medical and social issues that can sometimes arise through being in a military family. And so our Military Family Resource Centers are networked across Canada and continue to work in very close partnership with community agencies that deliver the services that our military families need.
Honor House is a home away from home to help out our Canadian forces and first responders in the time of need and or their families. And it's just a way to say thank you for how they give unconditionally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and this is their home away from home. It was really the beginning of an inspiration back when I watched a documentary on Peace Warrior with Captain Trevor Green when Trevor was in Afghanistan and was seriously injured. And when we watched that documentary, he didn't really have anywhere because of his mobility to stay that met accessible needs. And had a chance to chat with some people in the community along with my wife when she watched the documentary with me that said we should really reach out to do sort of a Ronald McDonald House kind of model, but for Canadian Forces and first responders, that they have their home away from home, and she said you should call it Honor House in honor of our Canadian Forces and first responders. And so here we are today, just a few short years afterwards, and the reality of this wonderful home, just to say thanks for what they do.
We're extremely fortunate to have our own airport terminal right here with us in Comox. The base was here primarily for the military, for the Air Force purposes, and we've been able to develop a great long-term relationship that allowed the Comox Valley Airport Commission to build a terminal and to use a part of the airport which services the community, but not only the community, it also serves the base really well.
We provide scheduled air service through hub airports like Vancouver and Calgary, so wing members, their families, they can get from their base to anywhere in the world without a long drive. You don't find this in small communities like this around the country, to have the size and quality of the aerodrome combined with the amount of air service we provide. The airport really appreciates the access to this military aerodrome. Conversely, the military has access to scheduled air service right from its back door.
The partnership with the military has been going on for so many years, and in fact the leadership that we have, the base commander, Captain Waddell, is on our board of directors and really helps work directly with United Way and keeps us very connected.
It's always important, I think, to give back to the community that we're a part of. You know, folks tend to look at, you know, the military community, the base, as sort of separate from the rest of the area, but the reality is that we live and work in those communities.
In terms of just the economic impact in the city, of course, those folks are also buying cars, they're shopping at all the stores, they're buying homes in the area, the children are going to school, so all of that is very important.
You know, even though we move around a lot with our jobs, it's vitally important that we participate in community activities and we give back to those communities that give so much to us.
Did you know that they built this certain playground? Did you know that they built this certain track? Did you know that they participate in all these different runs and with their own finances give back to so many different organizations throughout the community?
And so the outcome is really about raising awareness, it's about engaging people, it's about building community together.
I just moved here last summer from Ontario, and I have a family, wife and 3 children that are all school aged. And I felt it myself with 3 kids going to schools, the differing education systems, province to province, the different healthcare systems. Some of the initiatives that have been taken recently are a great success, and I'll point to in particular the healthcare waiting times that's been abolished between provinces for military members. And any initiatives like that that can make the military transfer easier are huge for us, because it is an enormous amount of administration for the family between the education, the medical support, the vehicle licensing, driver licensing, every time we need to move.
I'm reminded often of my own daughter, who at one of my postings the night before came up to me and said, "Dad, just for the record, this is 11 schools in 13 years." And that is not uncommon for military families. And so that mobility piece is significant. And again, why partnering with civilian agencies is so important. How can we assist military families to deal with those challenges that are inherent in being the spouse or the family of a military member? There are so many ways that we can work together to support our Canadian Armed Forces members, regular and reserve, our veterans, our military families. There's so many folks out there that are serving or have served their nation, and we can assist them collaboratively. And at the same time, the Canadian Armed Forces, through these partnerships, I think support the community. So this is very much a win-win, and it all starts with a conversation.